Hi everybody, this is Lars from CAD Dimensions, one of the application engineers here. I'm just gonna make sure that everybody get in on this go-to meeting here. Give it another minute or so before we get rolling on today's product discovery webcast. Alright, so again, welcome to Product Discovery Webcast. Today we're going to talk about Camworks, specific about the mill package. Camworks is one of the products that we also sell here at CAD Dimensions. It's a fully integrated CAM product inside SolidWorks. So I'm going to give some examples today on how the software kind of like an overhaul of what it can do. So I just kind of like threw a couple of quick slides together that I want to start with, and basically what I did was I just threw kind of like 4 bulletins up here that could be, the ones that could probably concern or biggest problems that we're facing in the manufacturing industry today. So number one, end result. Get there as fast as we can. That is pretty obvious, right? That is where most people have their attention. Is it your way or your CAM software's way? I'm going to show you some of the things that Camworks can do, where you can actually control some of the outcomes. Reality is that there's 4 or 5 major CAM products out there, and they are all trying to make a product that fits everybody's need, but every shop is doing things a little bit different, and Camworks have some really neat ways that you can kind of like sculpture the software to do the way you do things. Another thing can be file management. What do you do with all these? You got your SolidWorks files, maybe you got your your CAM files and stuff like that, and that maybe ties a little bit into the last one. What happens when there's a design change, right? When you have you maybe program your rough operations or something like that, the part is out in the machine, being machined, and then you get the call that things are going to change. So we're going to look into that. But before we do that, I just wanted to give a quick overview over Camworks, the Camworks modules. Like I said, it's a geometric product. You might already be familiar with some of Geometric's other products, such as e-drawings. It's geometric. Actually, also, if you have SolidWorks Professional Premium, you might have played around with FeatureWorks, what can take a imported solid model and create a feature tree. FeatureWorks is actually also a geometric product, and actually Camworks utilizing this kind of the same algorithms for some of its feature finding capabilities. So if you look up at the upper left corner, we got 2.5, 3 axis and multi-axis milling. This is kind of like what we're going to be focusing on today. Camworks comes with high-speed machining. If we're following the clockwise around here, we got some pretty neat turning capabilities inside Camworks too. There's a product called ElectroWorks that can really speed up. If you got to make single EDM electrodes, wire EDM is another cool thing that we can do inside Camworks. There's some machining assembly capabilities that I'm going to show you today that is really powerful. And I'm going to touch on the machine simulation. It's an add-on, but I'm going to just show you that too. Then there is for 2011, actually now Volume Mill is running inside Camworks. Volume Mill is a product that is really great if you're doing a lot of material removal. It has been an add-on for other cam products such as Gibbs Cam and Mastercam. And then we also got the mill turn. So that's kind of like the overall what there exists in the Camworks world of different scenarios. Like I said, today we're going to concentrate on the milling package, and the other products will be put together in another product discovery webcast. So back to my bullets and points. Get to the end result quicker. I think that really this is one of the strongholds of Camworks compared to some of the other cam products. It seems like a lot of the cam products, they come up with adding new tool paths to their next version, and some new algorithms, and you're ending up having a ton of tool paths that you now pick from to do your programming. With Camworks, I think that they do a very nice job with implementing today's technology and really give you a really good head start on getting going on your programming. And I'm going to show you here. I'm going to jump in and get SOLIDWORKS going here. So we got SOLIDWORKS, and first off, Camworks is just an add-on. If we go into the SOLIDWORKS add-ons up here, where we have some of our other add-ons, such as motion, SOLIDWORKS routing, simulation, and all this stuff, toolbox. We down here have Camworks in here, so that you can just turn it on and off in here. I'm going to go ahead here and open up our first part. The SOLIDWORKS R key is a great tool, right, to just get up your previous open parts. And I'm going to open up this base block here, and if we take a quick look at this part here, we can just see that there's some different holes and stuff like that, and this is just a SOLIDWORKS part, right? If we look over in the tree, we can see the SOLIDWORKS tree. There's a lot of stuff going over here. There's some references and stuff like that, some patterns and all kinds of stuff going on. Where we can see that Camworks is on is we have added two more tabs to it. There's a Camworks feature tree, and there's a Camworks operation tree, and also we have a Camworks command manager tab here. And this is just like inside SOLIDWORKS, it's fully customizable. And it works the same way. We also can right click over here. We actually also got some tool menus we can open up and stuff. This is just as customizable as anything else inside SOLIDWORKS. So what can we do to quickly get to the end result quicker? With most cam products, the first steps are about the same. First thing we got to do is we got to choose what are we trying to do here with the machine. And if we look over here in the Camworks features tree, you would actually also see configurations. So we can actually add different configurations in here, Camworks configurations, meaning that if we had a lathe operation, we could have a lathe in here and you could quickly switch back and forth. But you can actually also utilize SOLIDWORKS configurations in here and use those. That could possibly be something we could get back to later in, maybe not today, but then definitely you guys can contact me and we can look at that. So first things first here, we're going to go in and select the machine we are going to use. So I'm just going to double click on this mill here, and you get this box coming up here, and you can see I got all kinds of different machines in here. I'm just going to pick a Haas VF1 a vertical machine, right? I'm just going to select that one, and then basically what I can do now is I can actually just go up to this extract machinable features, and as soon as I click on that one, what Camworks is going to do is it's going to use the same algorithm as it does for FeatureWorks inside SOLIDWORKS, and it's going to analyze the solid model here and try to figure out if it can figure out what the different features we have on this part, such as we have some holes, we have some pockets, and all kinds of stuff. And you can see over here to the left of us in our feature tree that it found all these different things. And if you look here, there's some hole groups, there's some counter bores, some other holes, some rectangular slots, so we definitely can see some pockets. So it found all kinds of different stuff here. And we look here, if I click on this mill setup 1, we can see that we got an arrow over here that's pointing down. So that means that we're going to machining from this face here. If I go and click on the mill part setup 2, it's going to be from that other face back, and so far and so on. And actually, if we look at this specific block here, we count them. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there's actually 7 setups. Now, normally blocks have 6 sides. So if I just go normal to here, you will actually see that part setup 7 is actually a hole that is in an angle. So without us really done anything besides just picking, we wanted to do a milling operation, hit this extractable features, you know, even in a quoting situation, we would be maybe, you know, I'm not saying that you wouldn't have found this hole in doing the process, but hey, this pretty quickly we know that there is actually an angular hole there. So I think that's a pretty sweet feature there, that it can do that. So with these operations found, basically this is kind of like as if you took a standard SOLIDWORKS feature tree that had found all these different operations. So now what are we going to do with these different operations? We can, and in this point here, we can decide what we want to use. If we don't want to use, we can actually, as you can see, we have a recycle bin down here. If there's certain operations we don't want to use, we can actually just right click here. You can see we can suppress stuff, but we can also delete stuff if we don't want to use stuff. And I can just go in and use, you know, standard commands like you would in Windows by holding down my control button. It can actually multi-select everything. Actually, what is nice about this recycle bin is you can right click, you can actually restore all, so you can actually bring them back again. Something I wish that actually SOLIDWORKS maybe had. So I'm just going to empty my recycle bin out here and keep this mill operation 1, because that's all we're really concentrating about right now. So I can actually go ahead here and I can generate an operation plan from this. Basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take all these features that Camworks have found, and I'm going to process it into a toolpath. Okay, as soon as I do that, it jumps over to the next tab over here. What is our operation tree? And you will see that there's a lot of familiar names over here: center drill, drill, center drill, drill, rough, and mill. And you would actually also see that it actually also picked out some tool sizes already. Now, this has all gone through an Access database that I'm going to come back to and show you in a little bit about how you can actually have full control over your parts. Now, if you look right now, we got this pink color. That is because, just like in SOLIDWORKS, where we're talking about constrained and unconstrained geometry, when you do your sketches, Camworks works the same way. We got pink because this has actually not been processed as of yet. So if I go over here and I hit generate a toolpath, now I'm actually processing it through and say, all right, now it turned black, it's full defined. I actually now have created toolpath for this block. So I picked my machine, and I clicked on the extract machinable feature, found stuff. I said, all right, I want to use the first operation to generate an operation plan, and now I generated the toolpath. That's all I've done to this point. What have we gotten? Well, we can actually go in here, we can simulate stuff if we want to by click of a button. I can go in here and I can step through this, and we can see that we're spotting some holes, and we're drilling some holes, we're spotting some other holes, we're drilling some holes and stuff like that. So you can see here we can verify different stuff. Now, we've only hit a couple of buttons, but you might want to be able to, you know, you see we have a center drill here that is tool number 1, that is a number 4 center drill. We also got one down here. So we might want to just take this tree here and just combine some of these operations that is identical. In Camworks, we can do a lot of things. We can use the command manager. Right click is one of my favorite, because it's just right click on something and here I get all kinds of different options. And in here I can say I want to combine operations. And I might want to combine all the roughing operations, all the contour, milling, finishing operation, drill operation, and center drill. And now look what happens over to my tree. Suddenly got a lot shorter because I combined all the center drill into one. Now what's nice about this, besides just a little house cleaning over here, is of course also that if I need to change something in this drill, at drill depth or something like that, all I have to do now is changing it one place, this one here. Again, a right click would actually get me right into that scenario. And now I get this box up here, as you can see here. That way I can actually go in and I can change different stuff, my rapids heights and all this kind of stuff. So you have quickly access to this kind of stuff in here. Now, also, so we got some center drilling, and then we got some other rough milling in here. I might say that I want to actually do my roughing for this pocket here first. If I want to do this first, it's just like in SOLIDWORKS. We can grab something here and we can drag it up, and we can move those operations up here, and that way here now suddenly they're going to be first. So if I go back into the simulation and start stepping through, you will actually see that now it's actually going to start milling out these pockets. Okay, so you can see quickly you can just organize things around. Now you can also do this automated. You can also again right click again and say I want to sort operation. And if you sort operation, you will see in here that you can set different schemes. In this case here, it's going to do first the face mill, then a center drill if the face mill exists, and so forth, so on. So here you can actually also decide to say that I'm just going to move these up here by drag and drop, and again organize it like this, and now you will see that every rough operation comes up in the top and all the drills are down in the bottom. So that's very quickly to do this. And at this point here, all we have to do is we can just hit the post process operation, and we can go ahead and we can post this right out to wherever we need to go, right? And there's our code. We can post that out and send it to machine. Another thing that is worth noticing just looking at this block here is that we actually see that we have some 9/16 thread here. There's 4 holes here, and if we zoom in on these holes, you will see that they are actually threaded holes. Camworks actually noticed this because if we look at our part, that we actually have some 9/16 hole whistle holes in here. So Camworks can actually recognize that there was that needs to put some tabs in there, and it actually put in and used the right tab drill for that 9/16. So if you use hole whistle a lot, Camworks will pick up on all those different size holes and will go ahead and just put it in there. So quickly you can become, with a few clicks, you can come to this point where you have code you can send to your machine. Now, some of this stuff might need to be added a little. There might need to be some changes made in here. You might need to go in and modify some things. This is a fairly simple part too. You might want to go in and change something like a lead in and lead out or something like that. If we go in and look at these this finish toolpath here, you might want to change the way the lead in lead out goes, right? And so quickly you right click, edit definition, and you could come in here and you could change it to whatever you want in here, and you can preview it in here. As soon as you hit preview, you can actually come in here, and now you can walk through and see it in here if that's what you want to. So quickly you can go and you can do your changes and be on your way. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes into this, and you already actually have code you can send out. So you don't have to sit and pick every single pocket when you're working on this stuff. So I'm just going to say no to that. Get out of that. So quickly, very quickly, you can get to that point where you are actually creating some of this stuff. And I'm going to show you a little bit later another part where we can also just pick things straight out of the box. The next part I want to show you is this. What we see here with the feature recognition is a 2.5 axis feature where you can quickly go in and pick stuff. And just to show you quickly on another part here, we had the extract of machinable features. We can also pick these pockets manually if we want to. So if I go back into my Camworks feature tree and I say I'm just gonna pick my Haas again here, and one of the things we saw before was that we just picked we had a setup from what side we're working from this part on, and that's very easy to do. You just right click on in here and say insert a mill part setup, and you see that these menus looks very much like you would have inside SolidWorks, and you can see how, because we are in there, you can see how it's just reacting just like anything else inside SolidWorks with a flip up and down buttons and stuff like that. So like this here, we pick the mill part setup, and now I can right click on that and say I want to insert a mill part setup feature. And we got some different selections on what are we looking for. So if I just say I want to look for a pocket, I can just go over and click in this bottom pocket. I don't have to chain around it. And the next thing is going to come and ask me for some depth and stuff like that. And we can see how it's simulating a little bit in the screen here. We can pick things in here, and you will see this is similar terminology as we see as everything else inside SolidWorks. I can just click on the top face here, so now it's up to that face, and we can click finish, and now we have that pocket right here we can process, and we can then generate the toolpath for this, and we can verify this. Okay, so that's how easy that is done manually. Another thing that is kind of neat with Camworks is if we go into the stock manager in here and actually want to set up our stock, Now here's an interesting thing. I was talking about before how we quickly found the 7 setups, that there was an extra angular setup for a hole. So that can be used in quoting maybe. Also another thing that is kind of neat, if we have a part like this, many times we need to order the material, 2 weeks before we actually have to machine the part, so we can get the material ordered and get the part in. What size stock do you need for a part like this? It's kind of neat that Camworks actually just makes a boundary box and show you right now what the minimum requires for this box is. And as you will see over here, I can actually add material to the part here just by increasing these numbers if I want to, and you will see that the numbers grow here. So if you have to add some material on and stuff like that, we can also in here use sketches. Again, I'm going to show you a little bit later with sketching inside SolidWorks and using that. We could also create some shape of just a 2D sketch inside SolidWorks and tell that we want to use that as our stock, and we can use that. And of course also STL, but it's pretty standard. Materials in here is also, we can pick different kinds of material. Material in here is not the SolidWorks material. This is actually materials that goes back to a feet and speeds calculator that comes with Camworks. So you can use that to generate your feet and speeds if you want to. You got all kinds of different options with that scenario too. So quickly you can also go in manually here and create your parts. We're going to get back to this part in a little bit. One of the things that many people do today is many people do some free axis milling, but I think that some people they get a little I wouldn't say nervous is maybe the wrong word, but 3D milling can be a little bit complicated, and you got to pick surfaces and surface to machine and surface not to machine, and sometimes some CAM products you have a lot of different surface tool pairs and which one is best and what is best practices. Camworks also have, of course, a bunch of options there, but it actually have a little bit different way of grasping this, again because we're working with solids. If we look here, we got this supposedly looking almost like a mouse core or something like that, and I want to mill this one with some surface tool pad. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into my Camworks feature tree in here. I'm going to get a machine. I'm going to pick our new favorite house here and just pick that one. So now we got the machine. Next thing I'm going to tell it is where we're machining from. Because as you can see on the SolidWorks origin here, that at this point here, there's not really anything to determine what's up and down, sideways and stuff like that. That's what we do when we go in and we say insert our mill part setup. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it just defaults to a plane. I'm just going to pick on the underside of this part here, on this face, and just flip the arrow around, telling I'm coming down like this. So it's quickly to do this. And I got a mill part setup. Now, to insert this, again, I'm right-clicking, multi-surface feature this time. Now in here you can see that I can pick my faces to cut and faces to avoid. And this is where many people kind of like gets, alright, now it's trial and error. What's kind of neat with Camworks is, I'm just going to go in here and say, just pick the whole thing if you want to. And it just picks all the faces, there's 28 of them. Because since I have already determined where I'm machining from, it is restricted to stay within that. And then we can actually use sketches inside SolidWorks to determine avoid contain areas. I'm going to show you that. Also here we have some strategies. And all these strategies in here is totally customizable. This is just what it comes with out of the box, and we're going to get a little bit back into the powers of changing your designs, but right now I'm just going to show you how easy it really is to get to the end result quicker. I am just going to pick right here a rough lace 3D fine step over. That fits pretty good for what we're trying to do with this part here. I'm going to hit the green check mark, and now you see that I have a multi-surface feature here. I'm going to right click and say generate a toolpath for it. And it goes through this Access database, and it actually comes up with a roughing toolpath and a finishing toolpath. And you can see it's also taken the cutters already. I'm going to go ahead and just do the roughing, and let's take a look at that. And this menu here is actually pretty nice. It tells you, how far it is in the process and stuff like that. And this will actually take care of multi-core things. So right now, it looks like we already got a roughing toolpath. Want to take a look? So there we can see that we got our roughing toolpath. And you know, that looks pretty good right there. Now let's just jump on and actually get our constant toolpath going over here too. Process that. There we go. And now we can see that toolpath. Okay. Now I'm just gonna, when I go into simulator this time, I'm actually just gonna hit this little turbo mode here, so we don't have to, we can't see the tools spinning around, but we can just kind of like quickly get to the end result, so we can take a quick look at, you know, where we're ending up if it looks something similar to what we want to get. So we can see here that we're ending up with something close to what we need right here. And it's easy, if there's certain things we're not too happy with, it's easy to just go in again and right click, hit edit definition, and then suddenly we are in here again where we can change our tools and do all this kind of stuff that I'm going to get back to in a little bit here. Step overs, you know, maybe we want to change some different options in here. Again, we got entry retracts and all kinds of stuff. So pretty quickly we can go in and get some toolpaths going here, right? Now, like I said before, there's some pretty neat stuff when it comes to utilizing the CAD tools inside SolidWorks, because if you look at it, many standalone CAM products is a CAD CAM product, right? Where they have a CAD module and then they got a CAM module. The cool thing about Camworks, since it's integrated inside SolidWorks, is that it is actually, you know, with utilizing the CAD from SolidWorks, and then we got the CAM of Camworks. So let me just quickly show you here the powers we have. We can actually go in here, let's say we wanted to put a couple of toe clamps in here to hold this part down. Maybe it wouldn't fit in a vise or something like that. I can actually just go into SolidWorks, and I'm just going to open up a sketch on this plane here and go normal to. And I'm just going to sketch something that's going to try to resemble my toe clamp. Normally I would probably do some constraint geometry and stuff like that, right? So this is going to be my toe clamps right here. So this is just a sketch I'm creating in here inside SolidWorks. And I might want to make it easier for myself and, you know, name it something, just so you can see that I know what it is. Now go back into my, over to my operation tree. You can see we got the sketches right there. Let me just go back to go normal too. And now what I can actually do right in here is I can right click and I can go down and say I want to avoid these areas. And when I go in there, I just need to get into multiple sketches. We will actually see our sketch right here. The multiple, the clamp is right there. I click on that one and I can say finish. It's going to come up and say, hey, I need to regenerate this stuff because you changed stuff. Okay, so it's going to regenerate it, and shouldn't take more than a few seconds, and it's show you how long it's going to take over here. So let's see here. Last one was 9 seconds, 11 seconds this time. Now you will actually see how it's avoiding these areas. So these toe clamps right now are not, you know, an issue. Now if you look, I never put it onto my rough path. I only put it onto the in here. So, but again, since it's like SolidWorks, I can actually just grab my control, hold down my control key, drag, and drop it in here, and look at that. Now we actually got it to places. So, you know, again, quickly you can modify things. You can also go the other way, and this is where, you know, I really think that this whole surfacing thing really becomes neat. Let's just take a look at this here and go in and simulate it. 1, 2, 3, and now you can see how it's avoided errors. You can also go the other way. Let me go in here and sketch another sketch on this plane, and gonna go normal too. And this time I'm just gonna grab a polygon or something like that, something a little awkward like this. And this time I'm not gonna name the sketch. It's just sketch free. Just remember that, right? Now I could go the other way and say that when it comes to machining this stuff here, I right clicking, I actually, this time I don't want to avoid, this time I just want to contain. And now I can pick that sketch free and I can say finish to that. And now actually it's just going to only do within that the polygon sketch. So you can see how you very quickly can can control your tool path by just doing that kind of stuff. Now you can see how it's just projecting down on that. So the sketch tools inside SolidWorks are really neat when it comes to do these kind of stuff here. Not saying that. All right, back to this one here. So you can see how you quickly, I mean, you can go in and you can do it just like you can do it in any other CAM package. You can go in and change stuff, and you can pick stuff, and you got all the same options. But you can also see here how quickly you can actually, you have a head start of getting the product as running. You could even take something like where, your roughing operations. You just want to get the roughing operations quickly programmed, and then get them out of the machine. And while they're roughing, then you can go in and tweak things on your finishing operation to be accurate. Next thing here is it your way or is your CAM software's way? And what I really mean about this is that when it comes to like I said before, they try to, all these CAM products trying to make a product that fits everybody, but the truth is that you do things in your shop certain ways because it makes a lot of sense. One of the things that I really like about Camworks is when we get to assembly machining. If you look here, we got an assembly, right? We can see that over in our feature tree over here in SolidWorks. Notice that it's a bunch of just pattern parts. So we have like one seated part, and then we got it held down with something that's supposed to look like some screws here, and then these parts was kind of like patterned on and something that looks like a machining table. Now when I go into Camworks here, you will see the Camworks have changed a little bit in the manner. Now I have actually added a part manager. What this one does is, and this is pretty neat, is if I go in here and double click on that, I get this little window up here, and I'm just going to go down and click on one of my parts. Again, it's inside the SolidWorks graphics area. It picks that one part, and I can now actually just click on that one part and say add all instances, and look at that. Now it just picked every single part. What happens now is that when I put toolpath on this part here, it's just going to apply that to all of the other ones. Even if we go and we start looking at our stock, that we can see we got a little boundary around here. If I decide to change some of the stock diagrams in here and add some more material, some more thickness and stuff like that, all I have to do is just say hit this button here, and now it's going to apply that to every single one for that has that part. So you can quickly, managing your stock and everything. Now at this point here, I'm just going to go ahead and go up to our machinable features and just let the software just do its thing. What is really neat about this is that when you process these toolpath here is, like I said before, you saw how I just deleted literally setups, but you can actually also go in here and add your own. We saw how before we added one pocket. We could just go in here, right click and insert these pockets ourselves if we want to. So it's really flexible when it comes to this. So at this point I already found a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to at this point say yes, sure, I'm good with this. Go ahead, put it all in there, and it comes up with our center drills and all our roughing operations again and all that stuff. And I'm just going to say, all right, generate some toolpath, and let's take a look here. I'm going to take the bottom pocket here, and if I right click on it, I can also just step through in the graphic view if I want to. So now we can actually see how it's milling out the pocket here. Now as you can see right now, that's not too good with our screws, so we definitely have to take care of that. Another thing I can see, if I go in and actually say I want to verify this, simulate this one package, you will actually see all our different parts show up here. Another thing we will see is that the way it attacks the part, the pattern is not maybe sufficient at this point because we haven't really controlled that. So you see how it jumps to the next one. Very easy to handle inside Camworks, because all we have to do is basically go back into our part manager in here, and we have our sort instances, and you can see right here that how I can handle how I wanted to treat things. So I can say I want to start from a corner, zigzag, whatever, and say okay to that, and now you will actually see that this operation now will simulate in that order that we set up there. So very easy to just kind of like sort that through right here. Now, there's a couple of really cool things about working inside a solid program like SolidWorks. One of them is, of course, as you can see when I'm picking parts, that it can actually realize that that's a full body. You know, when I was picking parts, I was just clicking on one part, it can actually realize these full bodies. But the other thing is that we can easily obtain other solids. So what I want to do is I actually want to go in and kind of control these center screws that we have in here and take care of those. So if I open up in here, I can actually go into what is called fixtures. And in here I'm just going to go over and I'm just going to click on this bolt here. And again, just like before, I can just say hit all instances and it picks every single bolt, anything that's identical to this. And I can hit avoid all. And now, if we go in and look at this, it's processing the toolpath, of course, because it's going to say, hey, now you're telling me to avoid areas, so now I got to recalculate everything. And it's going to do that. There we go. And now you will see that actually our toolpath here now will actually show the bolt and will actually just avoid that area. But again, just with a couple of clicks, you're way ahead of have to create certain geometry for avoiding and really spending time drawing things up. You can just quickly just pick things inside the solid and do stuff. Other things that is really neat about this working inside a solid is that collision detection is very accurate, because everything is watertight solid bodies. We can actually come in here and set things what we want to do on collisions. We want to pause on the different areas. So now if I turn this on, we will actually see that we will have some warnings, because we're going to be rabbiting into the stock. I didn't set this up correctly. And you will also see that as I'm running out of flute length, I will also get some warnings and stuff like that. So that is really powerful inside SolidWorks or Camworks and SolidWorks, is that we actually can do that kind of stuff. So your way or the Cam software's way when it comes to how do you do things. Here's the real cool power about Camworks, and that is that we can actually set these scenarios up by itself. As I saw before, we click the extractable features and it finds all the features, and then when we generate the toolpath, we go from these features that it found into these different operations where we see that it picks some tools. We got control over this, and it's very easy to use. It's all done through a Access database that controls all our different tools and stuff like that. If I just go into this operation we looked at here, and I'm right clicking on it, and go in and say edit the definition, where we get into where we were before, we can see that we got our tool, and we got tool clips. And tool clips in here is totally customizable. There's thousands of tools. If I just go in here right now and say I want to add another tool, it actually comes up with a selection filter, just because there's so many tools that you have to have that. And just looking for flat end mills between 0 and 9 inches, you will see a selection. And you can add to this, or you can subtract to it. You can start over. You can use these, modify them, whatever you want. But you can see all the different kinds of tooling that is right in here. And you can actually create these tool clips for your specific machines too. So if you have a certain machine that holds a certain amount of tools, and you always want to keep those tools in there, you can set up that it's just picking those when you go along. Also in here, when we go in and looking at the different options, these are very standard for most Cam products. You can pick how you wanted to attack the different pockets and stuff like that. Like I said, there's an add-on now for volume mill that you can purchase that you can add in here. But we also have access to this database. So this pocket here, when it saw this feature, automatically went in and took a 1/2 inch cutter. That's not a coincidence that it picked a 1/2 inch cutter. That was something that I had actually set up, because I actually like for this type of size pocket to use a 1/2 inch cutter. So now what I can do is I can actually go in here and I can control this in an Access database and make sure that I use that 1/2 inch end mill because I like that 1/2 inch end mill. Maybe how it enters the part, how it does all this stuff. All this stuff can be edited in here if you really want to dig into the technology database and set this up to really customize how you want to do stuff. like you saw before, how it automatically found the tapped holes. You can even justify that. You can even go to the point where if you put in a hole that measures 0.201, then it will automatically pick a tab. You don't even have to actually make it a threaded hole. So this technology database is a cool thing that you can run it right out of the box, or you can totally customize it. You will see in here we also have tooling, and we got all the different tooling in here. You can create your own cutters. There can be creating cutters in here is just basically doing revolve sketches in SolidWorks and implement them in here, and you can go in and look at the different tools. Different for threading too in here. You can set up all the different tools that is in here, tab tools and everything. You can go in here and set here. What you also can do, and this is new with 2011, but it's pretty neat. You can just when we're back in here, we can just go in here and we can set up our different likings in here. Like I said, if maybe step down first cut is 200. Maybe we only wanted that 100. Maybe I want the step over to be 85 because that's what I like. All I have to do when I've done this is I can actually just save that back to that database by going into that operation and just go in and right click and say save to operation plan. And when I do that, it will ask me, do you want to override it, or do you want to create your whole own one? So you can create your totally own strategies. If you like, for example, you have a rectangular pocket like this, and you like to maybe go around with a phantom cut in the end, with a clean up end mill or something, you just create your own strategy. You throw it right in there, and now every time you pick a pocket that has that length or that width, then it's automatically going to take that cutter, use the feet and speed you like, use that lead in, lead out, and apply that phantom cut with maybe a finishing cutter you like or something like that. You can see here we got the box width and stuff like that. I'm going to answer questions, if there's any questions at the end of this session, by the way, over in the chat area that you can put in your stuff there. So all this stuff here is totally customizable with the database. And the database, the way it comes is fully loaded. It's not like you have to set anything up. But really, what happens is that most people, they use the database the way it came the first few months, but then they start seeing that, hey, I'm tweaking these things all the time. That's what a lot of CAM is about today, is that we're tweaking the same settings over and over and over again. This is neat that you can actually just customize it in the technology base and go on and then you don't have to worry about it anymore, because now it's to your likings, to the actually the smart guy who actually knows how to run these machines and stuff like that. So that's pretty neat. Another thing I can show you with the assembly machining is something like 4-axis machining. So 4-axis machining is always, a lot of companies are getting into this and using it more and more. And in here, I just got a tombstone that is placed in here. I got the parts, the yellow parts here. And what I'm going to do is basically the same thing on this part here. I'm going to go into the part manager, and I'm going to say this is the parts I want to machine. And now I'm going to go down and say I want all 4 of them. So I'm just going to click and say all instances, and now it actually picked all 4 of them. So now I know that I don't really have to worry about machining these, how it goes. And I can go, now I can just go in and pick a machine, and this time we're actually not going to pick our Haas VF1, right, because we need something that has a horizontal machine. So I got a Moisiki right here. I was saying before how you can set up tool grips. So this is where you could set up your different tool grips for your different machines if you wanted to, and pick them for that machine. Okay. So now where I pick this machine, I can just, again, I'm just going to go in and say I want to extract all machinable features, or I could have done it manually if I wanted to. It's just going to take a second here, and you will see now again it finds all these different machines right here, right? And at this point here, you can see how each operation is kind of like created. What maybe is not the best thing for a machining standpoint, that you machine one part and then go to the next part and stuff like that. Let's just process it and show it to you. I'm just going to go ahead and generate the tool path, and then if I go in here to verify this, you will see here, I'm going to get some, if I don't turn this off, I haven't the collision detection. Just ignore that for right now. You will see how I machine this part here. It's going to continue with this part and finish this part up before it's going to go to the next one, right? But you know, for this instance here where I got 4 identical parts, this maybe not be that great. So what I actually can do, again, you know, easy to make it as easy as possible to do this kind of stuff. I can actually go in here let's see here. Let's see here. There we go. Go in here, we can sort the operation, and in here I can say across setups. And when I do that, then you will actually see over the tree here that now it's just going to jump across the whole thing, and now it would actually make sense with these tools. You see how it's rotating around here, and you can set this up too, you know, to see how it's going around wherever it needs to do this kind of stuff. This is where we can set that up. We can actually also at this point here, before we used the you know, to avoid the screws, we went in and we used the avoid area before. We can actually do the same thing here, but instead of using avoid, we're just going to use simple representations of our tombstone and our vices here. Let's see here, so we got all 4 vices and maybe the base down here, but instead of saying avoid all, I'm just going to say I want this exact to show up here. And now when we go into simulate this, it's going to take 1 second longer here. Excuse me. Now you can actually see in our verification here that we actually have the vices in here. Maybe it makes it a little bit easier to just, you know, see what's going on here when it comes to machine this. So, you know, very easy to kind of like set up and do stuff. Another thing is to say is you can see here these link chains on each operation. Again, for a center drill, for example, you just need to change one because they actually link together, because it knows that when it comes to the horizontal machine you get a lot of operations, but you don't have to go through and do all these stuff here. And I actually never really combined these either, right? So that's our 4-axis. Now back to the next one here. File management. This can be a big issue with when you have CAM and you have CAD and you have all these different programs, and how, you know, you keep sorting through all your files and stuff like that. What is really neat about this integrated CAM is that this is great for EPDM too, right? Because everything is right inside SolidWorks. All the tool paths and everything is in here. Because what basically happens is that when I go in here and I open up this part right here, then when I go in and I select my machine and stuff like this, I got Camworks turned on right now. All this is saved right inside the part. But if you open it up in a SolidWorks sheet that didn't have anything in there, then you would never see it. You will never know that all this stuff is in here. So you can send files back and forth between design and between CAM, and you know, you can just go ahead and just send it back and forth. Everything is contained in there. There's no, you know, extra files that you gotta keep. You know, and that kind of like ties into the next bulletin point. What is, you know, what do you do when design changes comes along, where you today many companies are relying on that, you know, they model something up in SolidWorks, they send it to, you know, the standalone CAD CAM, they import it into their program. They maybe, you know, if they can use the solid, they maybe program from that, or they maybe have to even create new geometry. And then when, you know, 5 hours goes by and then suddenly there's a design change, and now you're relying on that, you know, all the information comes from the designer, goes back to the guy again who got to maybe reprogram the part or something like that. And I have tried where, you know, designers called up and says, you know, we changed A, B, and C, and you forgot to tell about D, and you make, you know, A, B, and C change, and now the part is sitting a scrap around in the machine because forgot about D. This is where, you know, I think that you really can handle a lot of cool things by having this integrated CAM in here. Go back to this part, and let's go and pick our favorite mill again, our Haas VF1. And I'm just going to go ahead and insert a mill part setup on the top here. Right, so we're just going to machine from that point. And just like we did before, maybe we just want to pick a couple of pockets here, 2.5 axis pockets. So I'm just going to go in and say some pockets, and let's just pick, these 3 pockets here, machine in here, and just finish it up here, like this. We got our 3 pockets, generate an operation plan for them, and then we can make some toolpath and go ahead and it will machine those 3 pockets, right? So very straightforward, we're done. Now what happens with design changes? In this case here, we haven't left SOLIDWORKS. So if this part goes back to the designer, he opens it up and he scratches his head and says, you know what, I think I'm going to change something. I think that in this part over here, I think that I'm going to, right now, this pocket here is 100,000 steep. I think that we should change that to 50,000 steep, right? So suddenly this part gets changed, and this pocket here is now only 50,000 steep. How do you right now relay that back to your cam room that, hey, stop what you're doing, we have to make some changes? Do you do this by going and calling up, say stop, I'm sending over a new model, and now you're hoping that ref changes and stuff like that, the ref history follows, because I hope that we don't end up suddenly building to the wrong rep. Here, as soon as I go into Camworks is going to come up and yell at me and say, hey, something changed. Do you want to do something about it? You don't want to do something about it, right? So it says right here, do you want to do a full one over, or do you just want to do it light? So I might just don't want to do it light. And now suddenly, if we go in and we look here, we will see that our changes have applied. And now, when we go into verification, these parts here, now it's only 50,000 steep. Just like that. So quickly, you can go in here and you can make these changes, and there's no really, big issue, approval, and all kinds of stuff that needs to be done with these parts, right? Because as soon as we go in and we make these changes, the software is going to come up and say, hey, things have changed. What do you want to do? Do you want to reprocess it, or do you want to, is this what you want, or this is not what you want? So you can see how quickly here that this data goes back and forth, and you're not running into some huge labor-intensive things with this. And again, like we said before, we just put these things manually in. We can still at this point go in and say we want to extract machinable features and get everything out of this pocket too, right? So like I said before, you can flip back and forth. Maybe I just want to, I actually want these threaded holes in here too. So I got my 3 pockets here, and I don't really care about the center hole, but I just want to keep this threaded hole. So I'm just going to go in here, hold down my control, and click all this other stuff here. I don't really need that. Delete it out of there. Yeah, I could also just suppress it, as you saw before. We can also just, like in SOLIDWORKS, suppress and unsuppress stuff. I can show you that right here. So let's just put in this hole here, and now we suddenly got the drill, the tap drill, and everything for this 3/8/16s that is right in here. So you can see how quickly we can get ahead, and we can just make design changes like that. Okay. So now suddenly we have our tap holes in here too. So that's how quickly you can add things, and you can then go in and quickly go in here and say, well, you know what, we don't want to use them right now, suppress them. Now you can see how they grade out and do that. So that is really where there is a lot of capabilities of keeping everything together. Everything is right inside the SOLIDWORKS file. There's no need to kind of like panic about, did we now rely those messages forward. And the last thing I want to just show you quickly is also, I'm not going to go through the programming process just because that might take too long. But of course also, Camworks is also do 5-axis machining here. So I have this, the famous part here. And what is neat about the propeller, because that's what everybody uses for 5-axis stuff, right? Because it's all cool. The other neat thing is here, as you can see here, that this is actually an imported model. This is dumb solid. We don't need SOLIDWORKS features to actually create this one, okay? We can use dumb solid. In a matter of fact, you could actually just go into SOLIDWORKS and sketch something and just contour the sketches. You don't have to have a 3D model. Now for this one here, I just basically put a little 5-axis toolpath in here, and we can just go in and simulate it through right here through the process here, and you can see how it's going through right here. Now there is actually also a simulation package that is an add-on with Camworks that you can purchase, and this is actually pretty neat, this machine simulation product here, because the kernel, the brains that runs the 5-axis inside Camworks is actually, it's a German company called Modulworks, and they actually this simulation piece here that I'm going to call up here is going to take a couple of seconds. But Dell is working overtime here. This simulation software was actually created by Modulworks for them internally to test their 5-axis toolpath. So it's not some kind of a let's just make something that looks pretty. It was actually a use for them, so they can actually test this kind of stuff out themselves internally. So that's kind of neat that that's in here. Shouldn't take more than a few seconds here. Hopefully it's thinking about it, comes up with all the numbers, and now you can see here that we got something that could look like a 5-axis here. I'm just going to turn off the block shadow here and zoom in here, maybe slow it down a little. So as you can see here, so the 5-axis capabilities are also inside here for the inside Camworks. You would actually see here, if you're getting further down, you'd actually see collision control, because I think I'm hitting back here. You'll see things start flashing red here. I think if I didn't fix it, maybe I did fix it actually. So again, 5-axis, and 5-axis is actually this is actually one of the easier program modules I've seen for 5-axis when it comes into to set your different stuff here. If I go out of this again here and just go into Camworks and go into our edit definition, it's fairly easy. There's a few more tabs, of course, up here just to set all this stuff up, but it's pretty easy with the axis control and tilt it with a fixed angle, and you got a lot of, that's the biggest thing when it comes to 5-axis. You do get a lot of options and stuff like that, but it's a fairly easy thing to handle here. So with this is kind of like what I had to show with the milling package, and I hope that you guys found it helpful. I will now be available here for if there's any questions you have typed in during this session. We will try to attack them here with the last minutes left here. So, but yeah, any questions? Then let me know. If there's any other things, any questions in regards to this, you of course can call. You can call our office. You can also just contact me. Like I said earlier, my name is Lars, and just maybe put that in my presentation now. And my email address is very easy, so that is lars@catdimensions.com. So this way here, you can email me any questions and stuff like that. So now we make it open for questions.